I just got back from the gym and I have a few minutes, so I figured it might be good to make one of these YouTube videos. So, today what I want to talk about is habits. And, one of the first things that people talk about, and if you're going to start competing or you just want to live healthier, one of the first things you hear about is like, better start drinking more water. So, what do? You either get that status symbol water jug and start walking around and being like, I'm a competitor, I'm drinking from this jug. No offense to anyone who does that. It's fine. It's good. Or, if you're just someone that has to go to a job every single day and a water jug isn't going to be, practical for you on a daily basis, you just kind of resolve, all right, I'm going to start drinking more water. So you get your little water bottle or your cup, it's however many ounces, and fill it in the morning with all these good intentions, and it just sits on your desk all day. Because you get so engrossed in what you're doing that you realize that you didn't actually take any sips. Or you successfully finished that water glass, but you never got up to refill it because you got so engrossed in what you were doing. If you're kind of like me, that's what happens. And then you're even more mad because you're like, oh, I was gonna get up and refill this, and this was gonna stop me from sitting so long because sitting's so bad for me, and it's just this whole spiral. So before getting on too much of a tangent there, in The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg, if that's how you say his name, I'm not exactly sure. But in this book, he breaks habits into 3 parts. You have the cue, you have the routine, and you have the reward. In a normal human being life situation, the cue is I'm thirsty, the routine is drinking water, and the reward is quenching of thirst, satiation, refreshment. But when you're doing this fitness or health endeavor here, you're kind of drinking. Your goal here is to drink beyond what the cue is. So you kind of want to drink even when you're not thirsty. And so the problem that with just having the water on your desk or whatever is that there's no cue. You're not thirsty, and then you're like totally distracted and engrossed in something else. So what I do is I do have a water bottle that it can fill 32 ounces. And I have certain points in the day, things that happen routinely, that I have used as my cue to drink water. So, the first thing I do when I get up in the morning, before I eat, is fill up this thing. I actually do drink 32 ounces at once. You don't have to do that, but it's just what I do. If you do it when it's warm, it's easier to chug. Anyway, first thing I do, drink the water. And then that happens before any meal. So, you eat 4 to 6 times a day, depending upon your breakdown. That's guaranteed that many times of your water you're going to drink. And I drink like a full, amount. Then the other time I use as my cues is anytime I arrive in a location. So I'm arriving to work. That's another cue to drink it. And when I arrive back home, that's another cue to drink it. So already, in doing it this way, I've already met my goal intake of water, and it doesn't rely on any sort of distraction. It's not necessarily thirst, whatever. But that's my way that I've kind of guaranteed that I've achieved this baseline. Recently, I've also begun to leverage internal cues. So hunger and thirst, you've heard about that. That's hunger is a very complicated, it's kind of a complicated signaling system. And sometimes there's confusion. Your body might think you're hungry, you're actually thirsty, and vice versa. And I've heard, oh, you should drink water when you're hungry. And I've always just thought that's kind of bullshit. But I've actually begun to embrace this in combination with the principles of habit. So right now I'm cutting, I'm pretty deep into it. So about 1 hour before every scheduled meal, I get really, really hungry. I mean, that's like the true hunger. That's what I call it. It's like, that's when you feel the pain of hunger. Um, so, so when I have the true hunger now, I've been chugging water the same way that I would as if it's any other thing. So now it's become, that is the cue of hunger, routine of drinking water. And the reward is actually, I've noticed there's been a decrease in my hunger. It's not like immediate. You're not going to be like, oh, I feel full. I feel so satisfied. Like I just ate like a burger and cheese. Like this is great. But what I found is like 10 to 15 minutes later, you're going to be doing whatever activity it was that you're doing, and you're no longer thinking about being hungry, which is all you need to get you to your next meal. Now, man, thinking about this, I'm like thirsty now. I did just drink a bunch of water. Anyway, so yeah, another one with that hunger satiation thing. This is kind of an aside, but it does have a psychological factor. When another reason why I drink before meals is not even just because of it's in part for the habit, but it's also like because I eat a ketogenic diet, low carb, very high fat and protein, so my portion sizes are really pretty small. So I drink right before just to kind of add volume, and I could do it after, but psychologically it feels really depressing to me to think like, wow, I'm finishing my meal, I'm not really eating, I'm just like tricking myself into thinking that I'm like full or whatever. So I find that if I do it before, my last bite that I believe is the satiating trigger is food, so that kind of helps. I want to kind of broaden the topic though about habits. So this cue routine reward structure is something that you can apply, to going to the gym too. It's kind of a recommendation you hear. You should always go to the gym at the same time or like a certain time of day. And I kind of agree that having that is really helpful in sticking to your regimen. Things get in the way and you have to plan around those when that happens. But if you can find one period that will fairly consistently work within your day, I think that'll be optimal. But again, you have to link it to some kind of cue. So for me, the time of day is lunchtime. So I come into work early, and then after several hours sitting at my desk and everything, I get kind of mentally fatigued, and kind of hit that like cognitive intellectual wall, and I need to get up, I need to break anyway, and it's convenient that it's lunchtime. So that kind of cue, that internal feeling of like fatigue and it being that particular time of the day, like I'm already on my way walking to the gym. I haven't even thought about it. It's just something that I've established as the routine. And that I think helps perpetuate and get you into that. And then the reward is like I come back, I feel more focused. I feel like I accomplished everything I like needed to personally, so you can give more. So that's kind of that one. And I think that a lot of people say that though, but the part of establishing that habit is there will be times where you feel like you're too busy, or there will be times where you're just really, really tired. And even though you see, oh, it's this time of day, I should be doing this, you feel tired or whatever. That's when in the beginning formation phase, you need to kind of exert your will power for a few seconds. It only takes a few seconds of will to get yourself out of the door and walking in the direction of the gym. And I think that if you start to set your objectives at, I will walk to the gym, like I will just physically show up, and then congratulate yourself once you achieve that, like, yes, I have showed up. I mean, let's all be real, if you already like walked there or I got to the gym or went there or wherever, the act of just going, you're probably going to continue that workout if you just went through all the effort of going there. But I feel like sometimes you need to congratulate yourself on the very small steps that you're working toward building these habits, so that even if you're like, I'm so tired, I'm not gonna have a good workout, you don't just say, I'll skip it. You're like, all right, but I have enough energy to like drive to the damn building. And then just kind of tell yourself, no matter what happens after that, you achieve that goal that day of going. And gradually over time, I think you're not going to let yourself do that. You'll have the habit of going. And then you just need to have the habit of pushing yourself when you're there. And I do think that that's another I don't know, you don't usually think about it as habits, but when I'm lifting, I have certain habits of thinking. So I have a rule of like, if it occurs to me that I should do a drop set or a new exercise, superset something, an extra couple reps, anything. If it occurs to me, I have to do it. So the reason I do that is just because I feel like it's important to get in the habit of saying, yes, I will. So it's like, all right, you know, I don't have to perform it perfectly, but at least I did it. I don't want to get myself into this rut where I'm like, I have this idea and I'm like, no, and I kind of talk myself out of it. I want the automatic thing to be, yes, I will do this. Yes, I can do this extra thing. Yes, even when I'm really, really tired, then you just make yourself do it. And you feel really good and accomplished afterward. That's the cue is the idea. The routine is going with that positive idea. And the reward is feeling like I am the kind of person who accomplishes everything I say I'm going to. And I think it's really important, as cheesy as it sounds, to kind of self-congratulate, you know, to be like, good job, like, you did it, that you're doing a great job. And it's that self-talking, it feels so silly, but I find that to be a pretty powerful concept. And I know Liam Norton mentions that he does it too, and I've heard some other competitors as well. I think it's a thing that the champions do. You have to tell yourself that. You have to believe it. And even when you don't feel it, sometimes saying that to yourself or hearing it like that, the words themselves can be pretty powerful. So yeah, again, getting into the habit of like positive thinking, I think is important so that you never become a slave to your own lazy whims. And positive thinking habits can take time to develop, and I think it's really important too, because if you have a negative situation in your life, the easy thing, if you're not a naturally like puppies, rainbows, and happiness all the time kind of person, you're going to get in that rut and you're going to lose your momentum and of being positive and coming to a brighter conclusion. So you need to constantly work that almost as a muscle, so that your default is optimism. Your default is, I can do this. And then just before I wrap up, it's already been, I guess I had a lot to say about habits, and I even have a lot more that I'd like to say. But before I'd like to talk more maybe to more experienced competitors or people who are in that sphere, I guess it applies to anyone. But I think once you have established good habits and you've got a good thing going, it's really important that you nurture those and you don't let things kind of creep up and get away. I think I personally am very vigilant about lazy whims. Like, I'm really afraid of lazy whims coming and just like slowly stealing my motivation, because I think that's the way it happens. You like say, I'm too tired today, but then you're promoting the habit of saying you're too tired or whatever. And I think with contest prep, what happens is people establish these really great habits of like drinking water, eating balanced food, or, you know, all of these things. And then when the contest goes away, they go into some crazy mood. They no longer pay attention to those cues. You're not eating at, you know, like 3, 6, and 9, you're whatever. And for me, I think you put so much work into establishing those habits that to be like, now it's my time to free for all and just like enjoy everything and go off the deep end. I feel like I just threw away all of those habits that took so long to like carve into my neural pathways. So I think that if you can make sure that you're constantly, you know, if you get to the end of a prep, still eat your meals at the same times that you were eating. Maybe you're going to change your calories or whatever. But I feel like if you can keep some sort like your cue or some degree of the routine intact, then you'll probably be better off just maintaining a balanced life in general. And then, of course, on your next prep, you won't be like. So that's what I have to say right now for habits. I would really like to talk about breaking bad habits, because I think as difficult as habits are to start, they're even more difficult to break. So that's a different topic for a different time. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. I'm Haley Morgan Fit, and I look forward to talking to you again. Bye.